Hey dumplings, it's Dave Decide. Today we have a lot to update on. I wanted to talk about Jungkook getting some hate and what is believed to be Bruno Mars, Jungkook, or a BTS collab. And of course, what a lot of people believe is the statement HYBE is giving about the Grammys. So hater or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Let's get into it. The first thing that I need to get into today is HYBE and the Grammys. First off, there have been numerous complaints among ARMY and just a general idea of American award shows on how they treat artists that are not American, which is treating them poorly. Funny enough, that's kind of what we initially thought, like BTS is being treated badly because they're not American. I remember something my mom always said to me and my sister when we were younger was that we need to avoid making a lot of noise, metaphorically, because we are just visitors in someone else's home. The someone else's home, metaphorically, represents America. So never be rude and always accept their criticism and hate because we aren't even supposed to be here. So any racism or hate that comes our way, just deal with it. This is not a correct mindset to have, obviously, but it is some sort of reasoning that can make sense to immigrants like my parents. It can be a way we can rationalize why we get hate. Otherwise, how do you explain it? But it actually should frustrate you more when you realize the racism towards Asians actually doesn't make any sense at all, because America, especially American entertainment, doesn't just treat all foreigners poorly, they pick and choose. When Despacito entered the US market, it was able to win awards like nothing. From what I recall, there was no need for a separate category at the Grammys or other award shows to win an award. They were able to compete and win against other American artists, unlike what these award shows felt they needed to do for BTS, like adding a separate K-pop award category. And interestingly enough, if you can even believe it, BTS has never won a Grammy. Winning a Grammy, if you didn't know, is decided by a committee of probably all white people who probably don't want Korean propaganda on their TV. And there were rumors of a former Grammy writer who claimed that they were not allowed to write about BTS because K-pop and Korean idols were just a fad or a trend. I think people are waking up to this and seeing the unfairness because it's now blatantly obvious. BTS has come so close to winning a Grammy only to be snuffed out without any good reason. Because BTS votes were always so high and their streams are so high, so to not pick them doesn't quite make sense. And then the award shows justify those reasons with claims that BTS ARMY participates in chart manipulation or that BTS somehow cheats. That's their only reason to be able to say BTS doesn't deserve it, which is why they didn't get the award. All of which BTS has already debunked. BTS announced a world tour, which I will get into more later, as I am sure you all are aware. It became such a big deal online, as usually their world tours are. But people were more so excited about this because BTS hasn't done a concert in so long, and we're definitely looking forward to seeing them live again. The concert will take place in Seoul and they plan on doing a residency in Las Vegas. This is an iconic thing to do. The Las Vegas Residency used to be known as the tour you do when your career is ending, to give it like a last big hurrah. But in recent years, that has totally changed, and artists use the residency to build their career and show what they're capable of because they don't have to travel for a little while, and they can bring their very extravagant sets on the Las Vegas stage. Whereas normally it's a bit of a struggle to transport big, extravagant sets day by day around the world. So when HYBE announced they were doing a Vegas residency, it was overlapping the time where BTS would need to go to Las Vegas to attend the Grammys. So Grammy is set to be April 3rd, and then BTS's Las Vegas residency starts April 8th. People were saying that this was HYBE's way of saying that BTS will not make Grammy their main reason to go to Las Vegas, as they could be let down again by the award show. Having a residency, whether BTS wins the award or not, they would have already sold out several stadium concerts. So even if they didn't win, the Grammys can literally look at the fact that BTS sold out these huge stadiums filled with 70,000 people each, and the Grammys can really evaluate if they made the right decision to not let BTS win one. This wasn't an official statement by HYBE claiming racism, but a lot of people believe it was kind of a hint or nudge at that. Weverse magazine, where HYBE staff likes to write about BTS's journey, have not been quiet about the racism the boys get, so the company is not unaware. The world tour is definitely very exciting. It would be exciting to hear where they will go. I'm about to pack my bags and head over to Vegas. We'll definitely be reacting to the concert on my Patreon, so if you want to watch it with me, a link below. It was also interesting when ARMYs noticed that there was a bit of an overlap with performances. Bruno Mars is also currently doing a residency in Vegas, except he is doing a much longer one. I don't know if it's in the same stadium, but I doubt it. I think they're going to be performing simultaneously, but that also means when either Bruno or BTS has some time off and explore the city, city, each of their team could arrange a meet with each other. I don't see why either one would be against this idea. Jungkook has sung during a previous live stream Bruno's song Leave the Door Open, and Bruno actually apparently reacted to this, saying that he loves how Jungkook is vibing and thanked Jungkook. However, this screenshot floated around everywhere. I don't know where it could be from or if it's real, so take that with a grain of salt. But Bruno has reacted to BTS's carpool karaoke, basically quote tweeting James Corden's tweet of BTS in his car, and Bruno says, "Thanks fellas." People think that with all these reactions that Bruno and BTS will be collabing together and potentially even talk about collabing if they actually decide to meet up. Artists meet up all the time without ever collabing or ever actually doing anything together, but just be friends. But I think when two iconic artists meet, there's going to be a thought of, if they actually created a song together, how will this go down in history? And I think BTS has worked with some iconic people before, like Chris Martin or whatever, and it will go down in history. So this idea of them doing a collab with Bruno isn't something out of the realm of possibility. There were people who were for this and excited about this idea of the two collabing. Others were not necessarily against Bruno and Jungkook or BTS collabing, but against BTS going to Vegas or doing the world tour in general. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. Virus cases in Seoul seem to be on the rise. And even if things are okay in the US, which I don't think it is, things over in Seoul are not. People are, for one, very against this idea of BTS holding this Seoul concert. I think people who are for it or claim that no one is upset about it have to be just some people who are unaware. This isn't an issue where we can just sweep under the rug. And I have been pretty vocal about this idea that I don't think BTS should be doing a concert in person. BTS gets a lot of blowback from this. And yes, it's unfair because other artists and K-pop acts are starting to return back to normal and there seems to be no issues. But when BTS does it, it's apparently a big deal. It is also much bigger because they have a very dedicated fan base that would be upset to see BTS out there and potentially getting reinfected, or the remaining two that have not gotten COVID get infected. Other issues also stem from way back during the start of the pandemic. Jungkook went out with his friends to a restaurant, and this was a big deal because he was seen as violating COVID guidelines. And so this kind of brought up this issue again, because is BTS violating guidelines again? Well, Jungkook was never violating guidelines to begin with. Back when the pandemic had started, Korea didn't really even get hit that hard yet, and things were pretty normal over there. While the majority of the US was in quote-unquote lockdown, I say quote because most people didn't stay inside. Korea did not close their restaurants or anything at that point. Jungkook leaving to go eat with his friends did not violate anything, and they did not go to any high-risk area. BTS is also currently still not violating any guidelines. They would not have been able to even announce their concert if it was against the law to do so, and definitely would not have been able to book the Las Vegas residency if it was against the law. So they're not breaking any laws here. But just because you're not breaking laws, is it still a thing you should do? And here's an example I want to bring up. It's interesting that food and those sorts of things will have metals and some semi-poisonous chemical things in there, but at a low percentage and at a percentage that is legally approved by the FDA. But just because it passes the law, should it be consumed? Is it entirely safe? This is what the organic food movement was about. And this is something for you to decide. I think while I am against the idea of having physical in-person concerts, I get it. I understand how important it is to do it, how important it is to have an escape and have a place people can go to let go, and a spark of happiness in these dark times. It's people's dream to go, but also on the business end, how can a label or artist continue to do what they do without having concerts? Artists' main source of revenue is their concerts, and they have waited long enough to do it. However, I urge everyone to go and be safe, and if you go, make sure you don't have COVID. I would imagine you would feel terrible if you had COVID, went to the concert, and found out that you were the reason why the concert for the remaining days are now canceled. Let me know what you think. Make sure to check out my Patreon for more videos, link below. Thank you to this comment. Love you. Bye.